I'm gonna teach you how to get a high limit credit card with any major credit union. That's right, you heard me say it, with any major large credit union. It's very important to understand it doesn't just stop with Navy Federal. Navy Federal is in fact one of the largest and best credit unions to actually bank with, and they will help you rebuild your credit and get to those high limit credit cards. And if you have top tier credit and you walk into one of these credit unions, you can also get a high limit credit card right out the gate. But I always suggest that you need to build a relationship properly before you ever do that, so you can get an even higher limit and build a relationship even stronger. That is the true key to getting to these high limit credit cards with all these major credit unions. We're not just going to focus on Navy Federal. I want you to focus and understand that this works for every major credit union. And which credit unions am I talking about? Let me give you the list of my favorite credit unions that I know this will work with. Now, of course, Navy Federal's at the top of the list. Then we have Andrews Federal Credit Union, then NIH Federal Credit Union, Langley Federal Credit Union, NASA Federal Credit Union, DCU, Apple Federal Credit Union, Patelco, Liberty Federal Credit Union, and Dover Federal Credit Union. Those are my top 10 actual credit unions that you can run this with and you can build with no matter where you're at in your actual credit journey. People really have this misconception that you have to have the best credit score to get a high limit credit card with one of these major credit unions. Well, in fact, that's just not true. You just don't understand that you have to build the relationship properly if your credit score is down in the dumps, because I have helped so many clients in the middle of their credit repair journey build up their credit profiles and build this relationship and get those high limit credit cards within 6 to 8 months of them actually starting and opening an actual new relationship with one of these credit unions on this list. I want you to understand a very, very important insider tip here. If you're banking with a major bank like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or PNC Bank, and you don't have the best optimal credit score, guess what? They're not going to do anything for you. In fact, if you keep money in your savings account with one of those banks, they're going to fractionally lend that money out to other people with good credit scores, but you having a bad credit score, they will do absolutely nothing for you. And this is why you need to make sure that you bank with a major credit union. And I'm not talking about the smaller local regional credit unions. Now, some of those are great, but they're harder to bank with because they don't have enough members. Remember, the larger the credit union, the more members they have. The more members they have, the more deposits they have. The more deposits they have, the more ability and flexibility they have to give you, an actual member, a higher limit credit card. So we want to go after the major, bigger credit unions that have more members, because they're going to have the ability to give you those high limit credit cards, and we want those for our credit profile. These big banks don't care about us. They're not going to start out right out the gate throwing a big limit credit card at you with a bad credit score, but you work and build a relationship and you show the credit union that you are a responsible borrower, and the sky is the limit. As consumers, we need to take the power back and actually learn how to bank properly. Listen, my mother, my grandmother, my uncle, my father, nobody taught me how to build a relationship properly with the bank or a credit union. And now that I've actually done it, I have built so many different relationships with different credit unions and different banks because I have banked with regional banks. But at the end of the day, I have figured out that credit unions are the secret to life. They are the ones that will open up the door for all the possibilities for you in your personal life and potentially your actual business life also. Let me give you a quick story as an example. I banked with a local credit union called State Employees Credit Union, and it's a big deal for everyone here in North Carolina. Oh my God, you're a member of State Employees Credit Union? That's crazy. And guess what? State Employees Credit Union gave me absolutely nothing, never offered me a credit card. In fact, when I went to get an actual auto loan with a top tier credit score, they wanted me to jump through hoops, give them this, give them that. And then they were like really seriously judging the car that I wanted to buy. Well, you know, that car is not exactly what we're looking at, and we don't usually want it. We really are not looking to actually give a loan on that car. I was like, what? So now you're gonna tell me, no, let's stop. I took my money out of that bank and I went with a bigger credit union. I'm not gonna sit around and play games with these banks. If you don't wanna lend to me, I'm not banking there. And I'm telling you right now, the smaller regional banks or credit unions are just not that great, unfortunately. So in today's video, we're gonna have two very important parts that you do not want to miss. On part one, we're going to cover why high limit credit cards matter on your credit profile. And then part two, I'm gonna teach you exactly how to build a relationship properly with a credit union to get you to those high limit credit cards with any of these credit unions that I gave you on the list. Now let's get into it. We have a lot of ground to cover. On part one, why do high limits matter on your credit profile? A lot of people say, oh, you don't need that kind of money. It's just ridiculous to have high limit credit cards. What's the purpose of it? You want to get yourself in debt? No, actually, I don't want to get myself in debt, but I want to have the flexibility if I do ever have to carry a balance. Let's say hypothetically, my refrigerator goes out in my house. You're looking at anywhere from $600 to actually $2,500 for a decent refrigerator these days. That's pretty crazy. Well, let's be honest, a fancier one for $2,500. Or if I need a new stove, or a great example, the microwave above my actual stove went out, so now I got to replace that, pull it all out. If I actually have to put it on a credit card, I have the choice here to carry that balance. And if I put a massive amount on an actual credit card, that's going to raise my utilization, and that's going to knock down my credit score and hold down my credit score. Then I can't do any really awesome lending if I need it in the actual future. I'm going to have to pay that down as fast as I possibly can. That's if you have a low limit on a credit card. Let's say hypothetically you have the actual flagship credit card. This is a $30,000 credit card right here. I haven't worked on raising it because I just don't really need to. But as an example, we have this $30,000 credit card. If you put an actual $1,500 or $2,500 on this actual credit card, guess what? It's not going to destroy your credit score, because the number one credit score destroyer is going to be carrying balances. And when other banks see that you have high limits on your credit reports, guess what? They're more incentivized to also give you a high limit. So if you go from a Navy Federal account and you say, you know what, I want to get myself an American Express, or maybe let's go get the Citibank card. Now Citibank is going to come out swinging with a $10,000 credit limit, as opposed to if you only have a $200, $500, or $800 credit limit, and then you go to Citibank is only going to give you what they see on your credit report. Having high limits on your credit reports sends a positive message to every single lender, and it reduces you as a high-risk borrower, showing the actual bank that you're trying to possibly do any lending with that you are a responsible borrower, because you have all this available cash, but you're really not using it. You're using the bare minimum, and that's what they want to see. They don't want to see big balances on your credit reports. And when you have high limits, even a big balance looks very small when you have a $30,000, $20,000, $10,000. When you have over $100,000 of available credit on your credit report, lenders see that and they're like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Give him anything he wants. And that is truly why you want high limit credit cards on your credit reports. Last part's the most important. Let's move on to part number 2, how to properly build a relationship with any credit union. I want you to save this, send this to your friends and family, because this is super vital information that I'm about to give you for 100% free. Now remember, you want to do this with a big credit union, like the ones that I gave you on my top 10 list. It doesn't have to be one of those. It could be another major credit union that's not on the list, but that's my top 10 list. First, you're gonna open up a checking and savings. You want to put as much money as you possibly can into your savings account. You don't have to do a paid version, just do the lowest basic checking and savings, but always remember, whether it's $1, $5, $100, $1,000, put as much money as you can into your savings account. The savings account is the sauce. That's what makes you a valuable asset to the credit union. This is what we want to do. We want to become a valuable asset to the credit union, so they give us whatever we want. Once you put money into your savings account, don't touch it. Don't pull it out. Just let it sit there. Let it marinate. Let them look at it. Let them want to borrow out that money, because now you are the asset. Sorry, I meant to say let them lend out that money, not borrow out that money. That didn't make any sense. This important thing is direct deposit. You want to build those data points showing that you have a steady job, steady income, and all of this income is going directly into that actual credit union. Now, when you're actually building with a credit union, you want the majority of your money going into that new relationship. 80 to 90% of your actual paycheck needs to go in there. Some people want to have it in a different account. That's perfectly fine. But 80 to 90% is the target zone when you're trying to establish and build a relationship with a credit union. Don't fret, if you don't have direct deposit, that's fine. But remember, direct deposit is giving them the data points to show who you are and that you actually have a steady income. So it's very important. But if you don't have it, it's okay. You can deposit actual manual deposits in an actual physical bank, or do digital deposits in the app. You can in fact do that, and it does help you. But remember, direct deposit is always going to be king. Next up, you want to do a secured loan. Every single major credit union has a secured loan program. Like Navy Federal, they call it the pledge loan. You know, as we said before, the pledge loan hack. People don't understand that these pledge loans or these secured loans are super valuable because you're putting your money up front to the actual bank and then you're locking it up and then you're paying it back. You're doubling your investment and you're showing the bank how financially responsible you are because you're doing this. Whenever you do any type of secured loan with any of these credit unions, you want to do a minimum of 24 months. Now, the terms are going to be different for every credit union. As an example, Navy Federal wants you to do at least more than $500 if you want to do an actual pledge loan. That's 24 months. I think it's like $1,500 or $2,500 they want you to do. I can't remember exactly, but it's different for every single credit union. And every credit union has changed because it used to be you could put $500 down and stretch that out for 24 months. And Navy Federal's like, nah, y'all can't do that no more. It's not okay anymore. And also, as another example, the monthly required minimum payment might be different per every credit union. So ask as many questions as you can. Get one of those representatives on the phone and say, listen, my target goal is 24 months of a secured loan. You know, what are the requirements? What is the minimum monthly payment? You know, kind of break it down for me. Get as much information as you possibly can. Now, when you do the secured loan for 24 months, let's say hypothetically you put $1,000 in it. So you're going to put $1,000. You can actually fund this with every single credit union different. With Navy Federal, they'll actually let you fund it with a credit card if you want to. Just an insider tip there in case you didn't know. But you give them the $1,000, you're gonna put it into your savings account. It's locked up. You cannot do nothing with it. You cannot touch it. And you don't want to, honestly. Once it gets locked up, then they're gonna say, okay, we would love to put this on auto payment for you. You say, no, thank you. I don't need auto payment right now. I'll go ahead and make the payments on my own. And say, okay, fine, that's okay. You do not want them to put on auto payment because we want to wait until it hits our credit report. Once that secured loan is on your credit report and it reports to all 3 credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, then you want to call the actual credit union and you want to pay off 80% of the secured loan and then put the remaining 20% on auto payment for the next 24 months. And it just pays itself automatically. All you have to do is make sure that there's money in the bank. Once you actually continue to pay this off, it will release the money into your savings account. So the money comes right back to you. This is where people are like, what do you mean I got to give the bank money? This is just a part of actually getting some skin in the game. And this is what's going to help establish that relationship. It is super key. You want to do all 3 of these things that I just talked about: checking and savings, a secured loan, and direct deposit for a minimum of 6 to 8 months before you apply for any credit card. Now, we have seen data points that have shown that within 90 days, people will get approved. But really, the longer you wait, the longer you build up the relationship, guess what happens? You get a higher limit. I want you to increase your chances of getting the highest limit you've ever possibly seen on your credit reports and being shocked. Now, we have also seen the data points where people come in with high credit scores and they open up a checking and savings, put a little bit of money in there, and then they just go right for the gusto. And because their credit score carries them, it gets them to the high limit credit card. This will work. In fact, I've seen it. So don't fret. It's okay if you want to do that, but understand, the longer you wait and the more you build that relationship, the better it's going to be for you. Meaning that the credit union is going to have a higher chance of giving you an even higher limit because you built those data points for 6 to 8 months responsibly. And now guess what? They're willing to give you an even higher limit credit card. I'm aiming for more than $10,000 per credit card every time I open up a new credit card. And that's what you should be aiming for also. Now, this is my final tip. Also be aware if you're going to bank with this credit union and they have any type of CDs or savings certificates, any type of other product that you could potentially put your money into, invest and save, guess what? You want to do that because the more products you use with these actual credit unions, the more you build up your internal credit score. Each one of these credit unions has an internal credit score. Navy Federal is a great example. Their credit score goes from 100 to 450. That is their internal credit score. You'll never know what your internal credit score with Navy Federal is until you apply for any type of credit product. And then they'll actually send you a letter stating, hey, this is what you actually got approved for. This is what your credit score was. And then you flip it over on the other side and this is your Navy Federal credit score with us. And it tells you everything about it. It's pretty wild. Mine right now is up to like a 375 out of 450, which is pretty awesome. But again, every single one of these credit unions has it. They don't talk about it. Navy Federal is the only one that actually shows it to you every time you apply for something. It's just that simple. Build the relationship properly, and no matter where your credit score is, a credit union will stick by your side and help you rebuild. That is a fact. And I'm gonna leave you with one last final tip. I promise this is the last one. You do not need to get secured credit cards with these massive credit unions. Follow this recipe that I'm giving you for 100% free, and the secured card is not necessary. Don't believe these other guys out there talking that nonsense. I have done this with thousands of clients. I have the actual proof, and I wish they would come on here and actually talk about it, but a lot of them are too scared because they don't want people to know they had a bad credit, unfortunately. So don't invest your money in a secured card with any of these credit unions. Invest your money in your savings and your actual secured loan, and possibly maybe a savings certificate or a CD with that credit union. That is going to take your money much farther and get you to that high limit credit card without getting a secured card on your credit report. I hope you enjoyed the video. We covered a lot on how to get a high limit credit card with any of the actual large credit unions on my top 10 favorite credit unions list. Now, make sure that you watch the next video because it is about American Express and how to get a 3x credit limit increase. Now, if you felt that I brought you some value in this video, make sure that you don't forget and subscribe to increase your credit score.